Blessed be everyone. Welcome to the Mystery Witch School YouTube channel. Welcome to all of those who are on the live at the moment. I can see that there are some of you here, and I can also assume that most of you will probably be watching the replay later on. Welcome to those of you who are watching the replay. Today we are talking about how to break free from negative thought forms, speaking specifically about the group thought forms like egregores or pendulums, as they're also known as in more modern day terms, and how they can affect you for better or for worse, and what you can do, and also how you can create your own thought forms to assist you in your magic and just assist you in what it is that you're wanting to experience in your life. So thought forms can be good or they can be bad for you. It really just depends on yourself and how you navigate your way through a world full of thought forms and egregores and pendulums. So welcome, James. And I'll just wait a little bit longer for more people to get onto the call. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sandra. I have been practicing witchcraft for over 35 years now. I help other witches who are struggling to start a practice or to deepen a practice, because that's often a really difficult thing to do, to deepen your practice, and to integrate magic and ritual and connection to your purpose and yourself on an everyday basis with the ease so that it's not difficult. And I do that through the YouTube channel here and all of my videos that I have here, and also through the Mystery Witch School courses that I also have going as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we progress. I'm also the author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path. So if you want to read the book that I've written about Wicca and witchcraft, then yeah, go ahead and order that from Amazon. It just gives you a little bit more of an idea of, I guess, how I navigate the witchcraft world and how I approach Wicca and witchcraft. I'm not a staunch Wiccan or anything like that, but I do include Wicca as a part of my witchcraft practice because that's sort of where I came from, and also because it does have a nice form, and form is a really great way to organize your practice so that you can sort of keep on track. But I'm essentially an eclectic witch or an eclectic Wiccan. Hello, Donna. Hello, Art for Joy. Hello, Swag Fan. Haven't seen you for a while. And hi, Steve. Hi, Luciano. Okay, for those of you who are new to the craft, or maybe you're not that new, maybe you've been dabbling in the craft for a while, but you just don't really know how to start your craft because it can be difficult to know, where do I start, and then how do I keep learning along the way? What's the process of learning? Is there an organized way of learning? Because we do tend to learn better when we have a structure to learn through. I do have a free masterclass called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. There's a link in the description field below this video, and you can also find it on my website, mysterywitchschool.com. And that just gives you a guide as to where to start. Like, what do you start learning straight away? What's the best thing to start doing straight away? Uh, Energy work is probably the best thing to start. Learn about energy, learn how all of this stuff works. And yeah, dabble in trying to do some spells that are simple, that you are pretty confident of being able to pull off. Don't do the stuff that is a little bit harder, because it may discourage you from continuing if you don't get a lot of wins when you first start this kind of process. So I'm just putting also the link to How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice in the chat as well. Hi, Brandy. Hi, Carol. Okay. Hi, Dwight. How are you all going? Now, I hope you had a wonderful Samhain up there in the Northern Hemisphere. So happy Halloween for last Friday, for those of you in the North, and happy Beltane for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere like myself, where it is definitely getting into that muggy summer season here, seeing a lot of new creatures around, baby lizards, baby birds, all of that sort of Beltane energy of new growth, new animals, and lots of energy starting to rev up for the summer months down here. Hi, Tiffs. Yes, I'm a beginner and I'm kind of lost. All I know is that I want to do art magic and deity worship, but other than that, I'm lost. That's okay. At least you know what you want to do to begin with. And that's where you start. Start with incorporating magic into your artwork and working that way. Magic is an art in itself. So we use the arts in magic and spell crafting to create sigils and create talismans. So your artwork can be great for working with talismanic magic, really, and also for charms as well. Don't start by summoning Asmodeus, just saying, yeah, yeah, learn a little bit about the spirits and that before you start dabbling, I guess, on the more left hand side of things. Okay, so I've let you know who I am. I've told you about how to start your witchcraft practice. So, what we're going to talk about today is protecting your energy from what we could say negative egregores or negative thought forms and align with more empowering energies so that you can really manifest the reality you actually desire and step more into your true path and who you are and the type of life you really want to have. Because a lot of the reasons why we tend to get stuck, we tend to get bogged down is because of these negative energies that are around us, these thought forms that are often very, very group related, and we often get sort of taken by them energetically, and we give our energy to them without realizing that they're actually sucking our energy from us and they're not really helping us in any way. Now, some of you may have heard the word egregore before in your magical travels. Other people may be familiar with more of the transurfing pendulum. I sort of see pendulums and egregores as being pretty much the same thing. They're just different terms for the same thing. Some other people do differentiate them slightly. They see egregores as being a little bit more bigger and probably maybe I don't really see the difference between the two. And when I talk about what they are, you can decide for yourself. And we're going to talk about what they are and how they influence in life and how you can maintain your sovereignty, which is really important as a witch, as magicians, that we maintain our sovereignty over our magical being, our magical frequency, and over our lives. Magic is about taking back the power from outside of ourselves and bringing it back to ourselves so that we are living the best life that we can live here in the physical world. And we're not getting caught up in the shenanigans of the egregoric energy. So let's coming back, do you like practicing your craft outdoors? Yes, I do like practicing it outdoors when the weather is good for that. Indeed, I do tend to practice probably mostly indoors though, but certainly I do some things outdoors. They're usually subtler things outdoors, but yes, I do enjoy practicing outdoors. And some places outdoors in nature you'll find have a really strong energy and are great for practicing magic. Okay, so what is an egregore? An egregore is a collective energy that's created and sustained by thoughts, emotions, and the attention of a group of people. So let's start with a thought form. In magic, we create thought forms to help us with things. Some people create servitors, which are essentially thought forms that are created through your emotion, through your thoughts, that actually has a purpose. It's kind of like an independent entity, but it's not necessarily a conscious entity. It's one that's being created by a conscious being, such as a human. It's a bit like a robot, I guess you could say, in that it's programmed to do a particular thing, and that's what it does. We have thought forms all the time. We create our own thought forms. And when we're trying to change our our state of being, our sense of who we are, so we're trying to step more into who we are and out of who we've kind of been led to believe we are, we're creating actually new thought forms. These thought forms that we create ourselves can also be created collectively when people get together in a group and they have very, very similar ideas, similar emotions, and a similar focus. They can be deliberately created or they can just organically create because you've got a lot of people with that same focus and it keeps getting repeated and repeated every time they get together and they're feeding that thought form. So it's an energy entity and it grows stronger every time we emotionally invest in it. So whilst as witches and magicians, we can create servitors and can create these thought forms to do a task. So some people will create a servitor for money and wealth. Other people will create a health servitor. Most people create protection servitors. Some people have had servitors be so powerful that they've had to actually go and annihilate them because they've actually started to take on more power than they were given. So that's not something to muck around with. It's something to be very, very careful when you do create these things. But what we're really concerned about today is the ones that you haven't created, that have been created by other people, and how you can protect yourself from those. So most groups of people, when they get together, organizations, uh, groups of people for whatever cause, it could be for a good cause, it could be for a bad cause, are going to create these egregoric energy forms. So there's covens, there's knitting groups, there's people who get together and ride motorcycles every week, just normal everyday activity that people get up to. When there's a group of people doing something over and over again, they've got the same focus, you end up with a bit of an egregore around that. Some egregores are stronger than others. There's egregores that belong to spiritual communities, to corporations, and to charities, and to religious establishments. Anything where there's a group of people, you can start to get this egregoric energy. So there can be the ones that are uplifting and really, really helpful and beneficial. And then there's others that are the opposite. They're actually sucking the energy. Fear-driven type of egregores, sensationalized political views, for example, are egregoric and very negative. Sensationalized focus on, some cults and religious institutions that are particularly negative in their focus. So they're actually taking energy rather than helping. A lot of ideologies, when people get together around an ideology, whether it's a spiritual ideology or a political ideology, then a egregore can form around that, and it can be either positive or negative. Social media outrage loops, you've probably seen them on social media where you get a period of time where there's this big focus on one particular topic in social media. Everyone's outraged, everybody's fighting on social media over this particular thing, right? Could be anything. It could be diet, it could be lifestyle, it could be beliefs, it could be political ideologies, it could be anything. These are like egregores. These are like these energies that get together, and when people give their energy to it and start fighting online and start getting angry, start getting upset, start getting frightened around these trends, uh, then you're giving your energy to the egregore. So as witches, as magicians, that's why we step away a little bit from what's going on in the world, because we don't want to get pulled into giving our energy to something that really isn't in our best interests. And what these energies can do is they can pull your consciousness into a very negative slide, into a negative timeline, I guess you could say, if you're looking at it more from a quantum transurfing perspective. And they can get you quite down emotionally, which can then send you into an energy signature that's not particularly vibrating with the signature you want to vibrate with. It tends to poke your buttons or press your buttons of insecurities, shame, guilt, all of those sorts of things, so that you're not allowed to be yourself. You're not allowed to express yourself. Because if you do, the energy of the group or the egregore is going to try to stifle you in some way and guilt you, and you find you're not even acting in the way you truly want to act. You're not saying what you truly wanna say. Or you may even find you get so caught up in an egregoric situation that you're you're justifying things that deep down inside, aren't really justifiable. And this is how we get into these sweeps of extremes in humanity. So I'm just going to go back to the comments. Okay. Santa and the devil, both egregores. Well, the energy around them, like you could say, yes. Uh, yes, I do practice outdoors. Okay. Yes, so the energy around Christmas is egregoric. The energy around Halloween is egregoric. The energy, yes, you could say it's like an egregore. Belief systems are like egregoric, and even paganism. Even though there's a lot of diversity in paganism, different sections of paganism, like you could say Wicca, for example, can be egregoric for sure. So they're everywhere, wherever there's people. So they're not necessarily bad or necessarily good. They just are part of being human and part of being a social species that we are. We just have to be aware of them and aware of how the energy's going. So what happens with an egregore is that there's some sort of a trigger or something. So it will spark an emotion in you. There could be like a headline that you read, it could be a social media post, it could be a conversation you have, and you find that you're being triggered emotionally in some way by it. And when you look deeper into the story, it could be related to a particular view of life or a particular ideology or something like that. You may find that your feelings, your fear, your anger, anxiety is actually involved. It's taking up energy by feeling those feelings of fear, anxiety, and anger, even. And that's feeding the energy of the egregore. And you may find that when you're getting caught up in this egregoric story, that other things in your life start to go wrong or things aren't working out so well. And that's because you're getting caught up in the energy of the egregore. So, for example, I think one of the things in this day and age that are probably bigger than, say, spirituality used to be, religion was probably one of the biggest egregoric things that was going on in the past. For example, the witch hunts back in the Middle Ages, you've got that very egregoric of the church and the power that the egregore of the church had over everyone, to the point where they ran around, hanging people and burning people because they had this belief that these people were, worshipping the devil and doing all of these things, when very little of that was probably true. Yes, there probably were Satanists around in those days, and they may very well have been working with the devil, but the bulk of the people that they were burning and hanging were not those people. And they were burning and hanging people for the wrong reasons anyway. So that's an egregore. That's a really good way of seeing that mass formation psychology or mass hysteria, where people just end up believing what this institution or ideology is saying, and then they get frightened, they get anxious, and then they start getting paranoid, and then you start finding that people are being, you know, killed left, right, and center, or in the modern day, cancelled via social media left, right, and center. And you've got people then giving their energy to this. In the modern day, it's probably more political ideologies that are really taking the place of religion now in regards to egregores and also the negative effects of egregores, where people are getting so caught up in a political ideology that they're feeding the energy, and it can get really violent, it can get really nasty. People can be very nasty online. People can get very extreme. Doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. There's a lot of really negative energy going on at the moment because of these egregores belonging to political ideologies. So we do have to step back from these things and look at them without getting caught up in feeding them. A lot of activism is getting caught up in egregores, and You're very careful if you're more of an activistic personality, be careful you're not giving all your energy to the activist organizations egregore in a way that's actually negative. You do need to step back and have a look at it and see how can you make change in the world yourself as an individual in your own life around you. Do you necessarily need to get caught up in an egregoric organization that's probably just sucking your energy out of you and not necessarily helping the world in any particular way? It's really looking at these things and seeing that we humans, we tend to go to extremes. We're rarely ever in the middle. And when an egregore is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it starts to sometimes get hungrier and hungrier and pulling all of that energy from us. Okay. Yes, I hope everybody's having a wonderful day as well. How do you know if you have negative thought forms? You will be thinking probably thoughts that are quite critical and negative of yourself and the world around you. So even though, look, the world around us isn't perfect and there's a lot of problems with it, obviously, but you're really looking for the positive and you focus on the positive. You focus on what's working. You focus on how to make what's working better. You start to look for what to be grateful for in the world so that you're changing your thought forms and your vibration to create a better world for you. And when you can create a better world for you, you're creating a better world for everybody else around you as well. So if you want to know if you're being influenced by negative thought forms, how do you feel energetically? Do you feel drained of energy? Do you feel tired? Do you scroll social media and look at all the negative stories, the ones that get you angry, the ones that get you irate, the ones that make you feel anxious, or the ones that make you feel sad? And what are you giving your energy to? Because that's how you tell if you're under the influence of negative thought forms. And these thought forms can be your own. Most of the time it is our own. It's our own negativity, our own stories, our own narrative that we've picked up along our journey of life that's telling us that we're helpless, that we're hopeless, that we can't do anything, that we're not allowed to do things. The shoulds, the shouldn'ts, the guilt, the shame, all of those things can contribute to this and also contribute to the power that the egregores can have over us. So decisions you may make that are sovereign decisions for yourself, for your own health or for your own well-being may go against an egregoric energy that's sweeping the masses at the time. And you have to be able to stand strong and stick to your guns and know that you're doing the right thing for you, even though the egregoric energy is trying to guilt you and shame you and do all of these horrible things that we do to each other socially these days. So you really have to be on the ball with these things. Now, egregores can also be positive. You can have positive groups that have a positive energy, and those ones will be the ones that feed you. They're the ones where you will feel that you're getting inspired by something, that you're being uplifted by something. It's building more confidence in you. You're starting to learn that you have more power. You have more ability to be able to influence your life in the way you want to influence it. You're feeling more motivated. You're feeling more inspired. That's a way a positive egregore can actually help and be positive in the world. So look for those kinds of egregores that are actually uplifting and help you feel positive and good, as opposed to the ones that are pushing the negative buttons of anger, of fear, of anxiety, of all of those kinds of things, because that's not where you want to be. It's not healthy to be in those states all the time. And what often happens with the negative egregores is that you start living the story of the egregore. And when you live that story of the egregore, you're going to start seeing those stories play out in your life. Um, so people, for example, if you're looking at, say, really fundamentalist religious people who, believe that the devil is responsible for everything, they start to see the devil everywhere. They start to see Satan in this and Satan in that. They start to even believe that anything that they do that might be bad in some way is actually the devil making them do it. So they end up creating all of this negativity around them because they've just started to buy into the whole idea that the devil is doing all these bad things, and this can get worse and worse and worse. And when you see people getting caught up in these negative egregores, you can see it in their physical being, in their physicality. They start to look different. They don't look well. They don't look good. They don't look healthy because the egregore is sucking all of that energy out of them. So maybe have a just to think of maybe a time because we all fall for these sorts of things. Uh, it's human to get caught up in the flow of a group because we're a social species and we want to feel like we're part of a group. We don't like feeling like we have been ostracized from a group. It's a very frightening thing for a human to be ostracized. And so we tend to give our energy to a group dynamic or an egregore because we're frightened of what will happen if we don't, that we'll end up alone and isolated, which from a human perspective generally means a problem with survival. We tend to survive better with other humans around us. We work better collectively. And so one of the really frightening things for us humans is to actually step aside from the group norm and actually go, no, I'm not doing that, and have everybody else basically, staring you down and calling you names and threatening all sorts of things. And so we end up succumbing to that energy of the group. So have a think of the last time maybe you got pulled into a drama or a fear online, and just have a think about how did that happen, where was the energy, how was it feeding the egregore of the situation? And you can let me know in the chat if you want to, or in the comments if you want to, but you don't have to. You just feel into, okay, I got caught up in a whole big online discussion about something and I started to feel angry about the topic. It started to push my buttons. Okay, then you're getting sort of caught up in a bit of an egregoric situation. How did you feel about that? How did it affect you for the rest of the day when that happened? What did you notice? Did you notice anything else going on when that started to happen? Were you able to pull yourself away from that and not keep getting caught up in it? Or did you get so caught up in it that you kind of ended up getting uh, really heavily influenced by whatever the idea or ideology or whatever it was that was going on? And just observe when that's happened, because it happens all the time, particularly online. If you're somebody who watches the news, it happens when you watch the news. These things are designed for drama. Social media is designed for drama. The news is designed for drama. They don't feed you good things in the news. They have one good article probably in the news. The rest is all doom and gloom. It's done like that for a reason. It's deliberate. It's to create drama, to create ratings, to create income, to create the platform to feed the egregore so the egregore can survive. Okay, egregores initially created intentionally. Most of them aren't intentional. Most of them are not intentional. They will get stronger as the group gets stronger, for sure. The only way to, I guess, diminish an egregore is to somehow infiltrate the group, uh, and that would be through the group seeing things differently and starting to change their ideas about things. So you'd have to kind of go in and work with the people to change it, or you could do some kind of magic to protect yourself from an egregore the same way you'd protect yourself from anything else. And we'll talk about that shortly, about how you can protect yourself. The return of the satanic panic. Yep, that's another egregoric thing for sure. Very dangerous. Jack-o'-lantern trick the devil not to go to hell, he walks the earth. Okay. I recently deactivated my Facebook account. I feel better now. Yeah, Facebook's, yeah. Thank you, Salem. Yes, it's my serpent necklace. So one of the important skills to have and to develop is an awareness of which egregores you're feeding and which ones you want to contribute to, because you may want to contribute to a group dynamic because it's really positive and it's really helpful and it's really good, and you might want to continue contributing to it. Like, for example, I'm on the community board for a nonprofit organization for social dance. And the whole reason we exist is to create social dance for people. So we have nights of dancing. It's a pretty positive egregoric energy that's building because people are coming and dancing, they're having a good time. There's nothing negative about that. It's positive, it's good. So that's an example of an egregore that is being created and hopefully getting bigger and bigger, and but contributing in a positive way. So they're not all negative. There's positive egregores and negative egregores. You just have to be aware of what's happening and how you're contributing, because the egregore, everything is a give and take on this planet. We do have to give in order to receive. So there is always a giving and receiving with anything that we're doing. We might be giving through our time, or we might be giving through money, or giving through some other means of giving, but we're still giving in order to receive. And the egregores that are functional, that are more positive, are the ones where they give as well. So you've got this giving and receiving happening between you and the group dynamic. It's not all take, take, take. It's a giving and receiving. So the egregores to so a way to know whether an egregore is positive for you or not is expansion versus contraction. So an empowering egregore, one that's really positive, is going to feel like there's some openness there, that there's warmth there. It's going to feel good when you put your hand on your heart and think about it. It's going to light up your heart chakra. It's going to be a path or a group with heart. So it's going to feel good, and you're going to be inclined to resonate with it in a really positive and loving way. So it's uplifting energy when you're dealing with a positive egregore. A draining egregore is one that's going to create tension, it's going to create tightness, it's going to create heaviness, anxiety, fear, shame, and anger. So they're the things that are going to come out of a negative egregore. Thank you so much, Dwight. Thank you so much. That's great. Because 10 US is actually more in Australian dollars. So thank you very much for the super chat there. And yeah, super chats are very welcome. Same with super thanks if you're watching the replay. It does help support the channel. Uh, witchcraft is not $1 million enterprise, interestingly enough. So think about your energy. So after you've engaged with the content of something, how do you feel afterwards? Do you feel energized? Do you feel like, yes, I'm ready to act, I want to do stuff? Or are you feeling drained, or are you feeling reactive? So rather than feeling energized to act because you're feeling motivated and inspired in a really positive way, are you actually instead feeling angry or feeling guilt or shame in some ways, are draining your energy in some way? Thank you so much, Donna, for the super chat as well. Love that. Thank you. So how does it make you feel when you interact with this particular group? Is it good or is it bad? Does the engagement with this egregore or group or ideology or whatever it is expand your long-term perspective? Is it expansive? Is it helping you see a brighter future? Or is it trapping you in an immediate crisis? So what's going on immediately? It's sort of not showing you a positive way out. It's keeping you caught up in that turmoil of doom and gloom. And then pay attention to your dreams as well. How do you sleep after you've consumed some social media that may be a little bit more negative in the energy, compared to how you sleep if you've been consuming social media that's more positive and more uplifting? Are things more solution oriented when it comes to this particular group or ideology, or is it very restless or anxious, or do they use really harsh, violent language, that kind of thing? It's a way to tell what's positive and what's not positive. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the chat. Recently deactivated Facebook. That's right, and I work with Gebo Rune to foster symbiotic energy exchanges and cut cords with those that drain. Awesome. We often do have to do cord cuttings in our life with people just so that we're not getting caught up in their energy. Families can be egregoric as well, for example. It's egregore that we're kind of born into actually is a family dynamic or family egregore. And that's why sometimes uh, deviating from the family norm can sometimes be so difficult because it's such a strong egregore. I've learned to not comment on posts that are clearly rage bait on social media. I already know what the bulk of responses will be, and no one will listen to me anyway. It's true, it really is true. People have got their own ideas about something and they'll stick to it, and they won't listen to anybody else's ideas anyway. A lot of the time, we get caught up in arguing things we actually really don't know anything about what we're arguing about. Like, we don't actually go and do our own research to find out whether, what the media said or what the trend is on social media or even the legacy media is actually correct. It may not be. They vilify people that don't deserve to be vilified because there's some other hidden agenda there underneath. And we end up just going where the crowd goes without actually doing our own research. So if you find yourself getting caught up in social media disputes or even in mainstream media, just ask yourself, how much of this do I really know about? Like, how much am I really informed about here, about this person or that person or the situation that's happening? Have I done my own research to determine whether this is actually correct or not? And always do that, because you can't believe anything that's out there at the moment. There's so many ideologies and agendas vying for attention and vying to win out over others, that you just don't know what's real and what isn't unless you go and you do your research. It's so important that you do your research these days. Don't believe the media at all. They spend more money on Halloween decorations and Christmas. Yeah, they do spend a lot of money on Halloween decorations and Christmas, that's for sure. Even here, when we've only been celebrating Halloween in Australia for a very limited amount of time. It was never part of our culture to celebrate Halloween, but it is getting more popular now. It's a shame it's at the wrong time of the year here, though. It really is. It's hard to really get into Halloween here in Australia in the mainstream because it's actually the wrong time of the year for us. But anyway, the brutal truth is brutal. Masters of Reality, Black Sabbath. Is that a quote from a song? Awesome. Okay. So just be aware of that when you're out there in social media land or legacy media land or out there in public. Just be aware that there's a lot of energies, a lot of egregores vying for attention and wanting to drain your energy. So be very careful of how you navigate your way around these things. Now, one of the ways that you can navigate your way and protect yourself is just by doing good old-fashioned energy shielding. So this is the old-fashioned imagining a sphere of light surrounding your body. You can imagine it coming out from the heart chakra and surrounding your body with green light. It could be rosy pink light, it could be white light, golden yellow light, and that is a shield, and it's just creating around your body energy of love, energy of freedom, and really good joy, whatever's positive energetically. It could be feelings of joy, it could be feelings of freedom, or feelings of love around you. And as you really focus in on those energies, you're starting to push away those negative energies. You could even imagine that the negative stuff that is coming around you actually gets dissolved and transformed into love and joy and all of those good things when it hits your shield. Or that your shield is actually transforms those things of love and joy and actually reflects those back, so that you're actually reflecting the opposite of what's actually being what's actually around you, negatively speaking. You want to surround yourself with the energy that's really aligned with your highest good and protect your frequency from these negative egregores or pendulums, as they're also called in transurfing. And decide consciously, so this is number 2, decide consciously which egregores you are going to allow to receive your attention. Okay, which ones are helpful to you? Which ones really float your boat and bring you good stuff that are really trying to help you, you know, and inspire you to being, the best version of yourself versus the ones that are just causing the anger and the self-doubt and the fear and all of those things. Because not every headline or social media post or viral trend deserves your energy at all. Uh, you're the gatekeeper of your frequency and you're creating the world you want to live in. So when you're creating the world you want to live in, you better be thinking and feeling in that state of already having it in order to create it. So I know that there's a lot of causes out there that people feel very passionate about, that people want to see change in, and there's certainly changes that do need to be made out there in the world. People do need to realize things that do need to change and do need to happen. But how much of your energy are you giving to some of these causes that say they're helping people or humanity or nature or animals or any of that? Are they really helping them? Or is it just an egregore starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger and starting to then just suck the life out of people so that people think that they're vying for a cause, that they're supporting a cause, but they're not really supporting the cause they think they're supporting because the cause has gone out of control and gone down a very negative egregoric path. These things happen. So we do have to be very mindful of what we are supporting as well. Even if it sounds really good, um, you have to really look at how do the people in this organization behave? What do they do? What do they get up to? What are some of the things that they're saying online? And do I really want to be associated with that? Even if I agree with their idea. So being discerning. Number 3 is cleansing, daily and weekly cleansing rituals. So this is where you can have a shower. Every day you have a shower, you're actually not just putting the water over yourself in a shower, or if you have a bath in a bathtub, you're actually cleansing with that water, energetically cleansing yourself. So you see yourself removing the energetic dirt, the energetic uh, sort of talons or bits and pieces that you may have picked up energetically. The water is washing them away, and you're cleansing yourself with the energy of the water, and it's going down the drain. You can do Uh, work with incense to cleanse yourself every day by running the incense around you or smudging yourself or seining yourself and protecting your energy that way. Releasing residual energy from the egregore. So if you find you've got caught up in something on social media, which will happen, it happens to us all. Um, I'm certainly not immune to it. Maybe it's an idea of, "Oh, I've just got caught up in that. Now I'm feeling anxious. Now I'm angry. I've just been yelling at a post on social media. I've just been yelling at a YouTube video," or something like that. Okay, take a step back and allow that energy just to go down your body, down your feet, down into the ground, and let that energy just ground itself and earth itself and let it pass through you. And just be aware that that's what you've done. And the more you become aware of these things, the more then you can pull yourself up before you actually get caught up and you start yelling at the television or at YouTube or something like that, or Facebook. And focus on the positive things that really light you up, and make it a habit that you focus on that for the majority of your time that you're on social media or that you're on any kind of media or any kind of group, even physical groups that you may be involved in. Which ones are really feeding you, that you're happy to contribute because you know you're getting something back out of it that's just as good? And which ones are you feeling are just sort of draining you, that aren't floating your boat anymore? And really organize your time, that you're giving your energy to the stuff that's really helpful to you rather than the stuff that's negative. Okay. I know someone who doesn't return the energy but transforms it and uses it themselves. I have some people certainly do that. Um, that's a great way of working with taking so if anybody's sending you negative energy or you're in a situation where there's negative energy around you, you can transform that energy into something that's useful to you. It's probably one of the best ways to use negative energy because you're taking that energy and you're using it to be helpful rather than harmful. So when you get used to doing energy work, which is one of the first things I teach in Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, is when you learn about working with energy, you can start to transform that energy. So somebody could be sending you, negative energy arrows, and you can transform those arrows into hearts or into joy, into money, into something that's actually going to be helpful to you and rather than harmful. So it's about transforming that energy. That's a great way of working with it. I've stopped being involved in politics actively because the party I supported was basically turned its back on the values that were central to them and me. And that's happened a lot lately. That's happening here in Australia as well. I've totally um, been totally disenchanted with the politics I used to follow when I was younger. Totally changed. Yeah, because they seem to get corrupted, politics particularly, seem to get very corrupted because they're after the power. They're after wanting to be in, and so that's all they think about. They don't think about the people. They say they do, but they don't. It's about themselves. And so, yeah, um, they're probably what some of the nastiest egregores are actually political. Is there a stone or crystal that helps defend against the negative forces that can be worn on a ring or an amulet? So I like using obsidian is good for these things. Any of the dark stones, tourmaline is a good protector. Amethyst is great at protecting. Tiger eye can be protective. A lot of the crystals are protective in their own way. You can also have the crystals that are protective because they're transformative. So things like rose quartz, for example, is protective because it transforms the energy. So it transforms that negative energy into that more positive, heartfelt energy. So yes, any of the dark stones, smoky quartz is great. Looks great in jewelry as well. You want the harder stones in jewelry, even though you can get tourmaline in jewelry. Tourmaline is a little bit soft compared to like obsidian or smoky quartz, for example. Okay. Who did influence you becoming a witch? Um, I didn't really have anybody influencing me. I always was attracted to the ability to be able to make change in the world, to create what I wanted to create and sort of have more of an independent sovereign life. I was attracted to that aspect of witchcraft, so the magical side of it, the autonomy side of it, and the sovereignty side of it was what really attracted me. Um, and even in the fairy tales, you grow up as a kid with the fairy tales about, the witches and the fairies and all of these different there's the good witches and the bad witches, and, uh, I grew up with things like I Dream of Jeannie, the reruns of that one, the reruns of, Bewitched, and I just really liked that ability that they had to be able to create and do things, and so I always had a positive image of witches. I never had a negative one. I was never scared of witches. I didn't think they were bad people, even in the fairy tales where, the Wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz, but then there was the Good Witch of the North. So there was, for me growing up, witchcraft was never really a bad thing. It was a good thing. But I never really was influenced by a particular person. It was more by the actual craft itself and what the craft was really about, and I sort of felt like it was a coming home, so it was something that had already was me. I used to pretend to be magical when I was a child. I used to play games where I had these magical powers and things like that. So, yes. So going back into protecting yourself, Another really good way to really protect yourself in the long term is to do the inner work of know thyself. That's the shadow work, the identity shifting, where you really get to learn more about what does make you tick, what does press your buttons, why you feel the self doubt, why you feel the guilt, why you feel the shame, where the fear is coming from. Is it real or is it just false evidence appearing real? You go in and you find out more about yourself. And the more you know of yourself and you make the changes within the beliefs that you have about yourself and the world, then you're less likely to get caught up in an egregore that's really, really negative because you're going to be starting to accept yourself more, have more confidence in yourself so that you don't get swayed into the group dynamic or the group think and become basically an automaton and just doing whatever the group think wants you to do or behaving the way that the group think wants you to do. So the shadow work, and the more you know yourself, the more self-aware you are, the more you are actually going to be protected from a lot of this, even naturally speaking. But even the most self-aware person is still going to want to use energy work to protect themselves from particularly really deranged egregores that are out there. And we're more vulnerable to egregores because we're more exposed to them now. Once upon a time when we didn't have social media, we didn't know a lot of stuff that was going on around the world. We really only knew what was going on in our own communities. Before even television, everything was very local. And so only so much was going on locally, depending on where you lived. And so you would only be exposed to a certain amount of egregores. And probably they weren't necessarily as bad because there was a smaller number of them. But now with social media, we're exposed to everything. And, pick your group. Everything is coming at us. So we have to just be very, very mindful and very discerning that we don't get too caught up with it. Okay. I'm going to be controversial, but it was probably a Catholic church. Once I left, I realized that a lot of my prior religious experiences were not particularly to do with God, but spirituality. Yeah, I had the same experience. Um, as well, because I found that a lot of my programming, because I grew up Catholic, so a lot of my programming around spirituality was actually coming from that Catholic dynamic. Then I sort of got caught up with the Wiccan thing, getting caught up in the New Age thing. I even sort of got involved more in the sort of the Western view of Eastern religions, and which are very anti-materialistic. And all of that stuff was not positive. Uh, it wasn't positive because it's very disempowering. It takes your power from you. It takes your abundance from you. It takes everything from you. And we end up feeling guilty about everything and ashamed about everything. And you can't do this and you can't have that. It's all about not. It's very nihilistic in many ways. Whereas true spirituality is totally the opposite. We're here to create. We're here to have an experience that is productive and creative. So why not, you know, enjoy the things you want to enjoy in this life? It isn't about the desires that are the problem. It's the attachment that we have, making out things to be more important than they are. And so when we can let go of the importance of on things and we can let go of the attachment to things and just enjoy the things, then we can live a much more freer life. Yeah, Catholic guilt is powerful. It's very powerful. It is very, very powerful. It's drummed into us from very early childhood, and so it is something that a lot of us do have to work against and do a lot of shadow work around for sure. Okay, so if you have experienced or remember, or just you're taking yourself back to think of a time when you did get caught up in something and you realized, "Oh, yeah, this is how I felt afterwards," then that's good because you know now how to identify when you are getting caught up with an egregoric energy. And when you feel into your heart energy, you can then know what sort of action to take on that. You can either walk away from it and follow your own path, or uh, Just be aware that you're giving your energy to something that maybe you don't wanna give your energy to, and what egregores are actually gonna help you, that you can find that using the egregore is actually gonna help you too, so it's a win-win situation. And there are good positive egregores out there, and your heart will know which ones they are, because you will gain from them and they will gain as well, because it is about giving and receiving. Okay, another comment. Both my neighbors are Catholic. Sometimes I feel like a meat a meat sandwich, the meat in the sandwich. Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard being pagan, particularly being a witch, because a lot of the time you can't really be totally expressive of that. You can't share the way they can they share about their religious beliefs. They feel quite happy sharing about them, and it's not a problem. Yet there's always something there when we share ours that's a bit like we're really treading on dangerous ground, because there's been so much vilification of witchcraft out there that even just talking about it can be very scary, because you really are putting yourself out there to be vulnerable to what people's beliefs about witchcraft are, and which for still a lot of people are still those old-fashioned beliefs of, you know, devil worshipping and ritual abuse and all of those stuff, which just isn't the truth about witchcraft anyway, for sure. Okay, so back to the craft, back to witchcraft. If you are feeling unsure about your witchcraft journey, or you're trying to still figure out everything on your own, I totally get it. I did that for about 12 months to 18 months before I found my coven and was able to learn from other people, which was really helpful. Yes, we had a little egregore going there in the coven, because it was a coven, there was an egregore. And I felt that it was pretty positive egregore, actually. It was a very give and take, and I found it very uplifting and very, very positive. So that was an example of a coven that was a very positive egregoric energy around it, because it is hard to do things on your own. And as humans, we do need groups. Sometimes we do need help from other people. So we do need to embrace the positive energies of positive groups that are out there. I like to think that the Mystery Witch School is one of the positive ones and not one of the negative ones. I certainly try to make it that way. So, yeah, so if you are feeling lost, if you are feeling like you really do want to get stuck into your witchcraft practice, you're trying to figure it out for yourself, I have created the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. It is a 12-month step-by-step course that takes the overwhelm totally out of learning magic and witchcraft. It gives you clear guidance. It gives you practical exercises to do to help you learn magic and energy work and working with deities. There's a supportive community. We do have an online group on Facebook, but we also get together over Zoom, actually to get together live over Zoom as well. And you can also watch the replay of that if you aren't able to attend the lives. So it's about really bringing witchcraft into your life on a daily basis that gives you the practice of spirituality in a witchcraft form, and gets you connecting to yourself, connecting to nature, connecting to your path, connecting to your purpose and your sense of meaning in life, because the craft really can give you that if you are able to practice it on a daily basis and use it to do some of the inner work and learn more about yourself and learn more about how you can create your own reality. So that's the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. There's a link in the description field below the video. You also can find it on my website, mysterywitchschool.com. And it's also in the chat now as well. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can still do it. Some people ask me, they can still do it even if they're in Europe or somewhere. Yes, you can still do it, and you can join any time because it's an evergreen course. You just take your time to do it. Okay, I just started the academy yesterday. Awesome, Steve. Yes, Steve. Welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Steve, for joining us. It's great to have you. Absolutely. The devil wears Prada. Okay. Okay, I think I need a physical coven, but don't want to join one. I know I would probably get kicked out. Okay, bit of a rebel, are we? We can always start your own. Okay, so just a few little questions people ask about egregores before we leave. Are egregores actual beings or just thought forms? Generally speaking, from an occult point of view, we never see the egregores or the pendulums as being conscious beings like, say, a deity is. They are something that's created through the thought forms and energy of human beings. We create them and we do them generally unconsciously. We're very, very rarely creating them consciously unless there's a particular group of people who know magic and they're actually deliberately creating an egregore for their magical practice as a group. They may actually do that. But generally in the greater mainstream, these egregores aren't necessarily being created deliberately. Some may be, but and if you believe, I guess, a lot of the conspiracy theories out there, a lot of them are, but mostly they're unconscious. They just occur because a group of people have come along and basically created it unconsciously through the conscious creation of the group. So they're creating a group consciously, creating the ideology around the group consciously, but the energy is unconscious. Number two, how do I know if I'm being influenced by a negative egregore? It'll be your feelings. You will feel drained, you'll be reactive, you'll be angry, you'll be fearful. Uh, you may even find that other things start to happen in your life that aren't particularly positive because you're giving all of your energy to this negative um, thought form or egregore. Number three, can I break free from or stop feeding the egregore? Yes, you certainly can. You can use shielding, particularly if it's an egregore that you've got to. So maybe you're part of an association, or you may be part of a club or a group of people or an organization that you're actually physically a part of, and you go and you physically do things with them. If you feel that's not being helpful to you, that it's draining you and it's causing all this negative emotion, then sometimes it can be difficult to move away from these organizations because they can become very cult-like and not want you to leave them. And so you may find that they will shame you and blame you, use coercion and all kinds of things to try to stop you from leaving those groups. And a lot of the political ideologies around at this time do have very cult-like aspects to them. And so you do need to be aware of that it needs to be something you can walk away from. If you're struggling to walk away because the other people are trying to hold you back, then start to do the energy work around yourself, like protecting yourself energetically with the shielding. Do more of your inner work so that you can be very solid in yourself and allow yourself to be criticized by these people, be judged by these people, be gaslighted by these people, all of that stuff that they will do to try to stop you from leaving. You'll have to basically have resilience against and just go, well, you guys can say what you like, you can believe what you like, you can call me whatever you want to call me. I'm walking away. So that's the kind of guts you kind of got to have when you're walking this path. So there were the questions. I'll just go back to the chat again. I have opinions and I talk too much, says James. Okay. Okay. So thank you, everybody, for coming along today. I hope that this was very helpful to you. And yeah, next time you're scrolling on social media, just have a look and a feel of what's going on with you and whatever you're interacting with. And is it helping you or is it actually harming and draining you? Okay, so we'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful week and blessed be.